are you this beautiful day?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Excellent, excellent. It's Adelman. Is that how to pronounce the last name?
Yeah.
All
Most
right.
people say Adelman or Adelman. Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the
Adelman,
two.
Adelman. It's kilts or clits. Everyone goes different ways with that one, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And let's see, Primal Wellness and Spearhead Soaps. Is that what you primarily are linked to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what I'm doing on social media. Yeah.
Good, cool, cool. Well, I've just started recording. Maybe you could tell our watchers and listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Southern California. I live in Las Vegas now. I've been interested in fitness and nutrition for quite some time since I was a teenager. I've been lifting weights since I was about 14. Was on the high school wrestling team, so had to cut weight all the time for my matches. And back in the day when I was in high school, friends and I would lift weights fairly often, read the muscle and fitness magazines on how to gain as much muscles as possible, as much strength as possible. So playing around with diet. Back then, it was all about carb loading and consuming as many carbs as possible.
Right.
But that kind of that kind of piqued my interest in nutrition and how you can utilize nutrition to impact your health. And so, yeah, I've always had a bit of an interest in nutrition and thought I was eating healthy in my 20s and 30s. I was on a Mediterranean diet, what's known as a Mediterranean diet. So very little red meat, lots of chicken, fish, lots of quote unquote healthy whole grains, beans and legumes, lots of vegetables, fruit. What most people would consider a healthy, balanced diet. And interestingly, I ended up with a number of health issues when I was in my mid to late 30s. And that kind of led me to reevaluate how I feel.
What was the particular health issues that you suffered from?
So there were a number. The most pressing and bothersome one was anxiety. So I developed it. I'd had anxiety since I was a kid and depression, but it didn't affect my functioning until, again, I was in my mid 30s, and then I started developing panic attacks. And in the beginning, they happened every so often, every once in a while. It wasn't too big of a deal, even though it was very unpleasant when it happened. But as time went on, the frequency became more and more, it increased more and more, and the severity increased more and more until when it was at its worst, I was having panic attacks on a daily basis.
Wow.
And I had been in therapy for about 4 years at the time. And I mean, my therapist was great, super smart guy, and I like going to the therapy, but it wasn't having an impact on my functioning, on my symptoms. It hadn't improved my symptoms. He had wanted me to go on anti-anxiety medications, but that was something I was really opposed to. I did not want to start taking chemicals, pharmaceuticals. That in itself freaked me out. So I went online and looked like what possibly, might I be able to do to help relieve or improve my anxiety levels. So the anxiety, that was the main driver for me, reevaluating nutrition. But I'd also developed a lot of things which I just chalked up to being, as part of getting old or having poor genetics or things of that nature. So things like frequent migraines, joint pain, lower back pain, high levels of inflammation throughout the body, just a whole list of many somewhat minor issues, health issues or symptoms, but still
that seemed to just go along with aging.
Yeah, that's what I had thought.
Right.
Even though I was only in my 30s at the time.
Okay. So then how did you get into the change in your nutrition as your main focus of health and wellness?
So I read that for some people, sugar, carbohydrate can exacerbate anxiety levels. And like I said, at the time, my anxiety was really bad. I was having panic attacks all the time. I was unable to function on a day-to-day basis. So there was a period of time where I had to quit my job, and I was unable to work for a period of time. So I was in really bad shape. And so I was at the point where I was so desperate, I was willing to try anything. So I read about this nutritional intervention, basically kind of going paleo, and said, okay, let's do it. And lo and behold, my anxiety levels over the next few months gradually improved and decreased. I stopped having panic attacks, and this is about 10, 11 years ago. I felt zero anxiety, zero depression. I've had zero panic attacks in the 10 or 11 years since I started playing with my diet.
And have you stayed mostly in the paleo side? If you played with any other realms in the carnivore side?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting evolution. So I started off paleo, did that for a few years, then did keto, so dropped carbohydrates even more. Did keto for about a year, and then I started hearing about and seeing online on social media about people who had also been keto, and then they tried this crazy carnivore diet, all beet diet. And at first, it sounded crazy, but I kept hearing more and more about it, and people were raving about it and saying that they felt really good on a ketogenic diet. And then they tried carnivore and they felt even better and like much better. So that piqued my curiosity. Eventually I thought, okay, well, let me try this, crazy diet for 30 days, see how it goes. And yeah, that 30 days was about 4 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've been strict carnivore for the past 4 years. I've not cheated at all. I have one of the things the health symptoms I forgot to mention is digestive issues. I've had bad digestive issues my whole life, ever since I was a kid, IBS type issues. And so I apparently have, and I thought it was bad genetics. I have poor functioning digestive system, but it turns out that it's just I have a sensitive digestive system. So when I consume toxins or foods that are inflammatory, I have a pretty severe reaction to it. So yeah, that's one of the things that resolved as well. But yeah, I tried that and have been carnivore for the past 4 years.
Can you tell our listeners exactly what your meals are like?
Yeah, so that's also an interesting progression or evolution, which I think is typical for a good amount of people who go on the carnivore diet. So because we're accustomed to eating a wide variety of different types of foods, and because that's one of the things psychologically that seems so daunting about the carnivore diet, that it's so limiting and restrictive in terms of what you can eat, the different types of foods that you can eat. So I think a lot of people start off and eat a wide variety of different types of meats and dairy and so forth. And that's what I did. So, a lot of fish, seafood, pork, beef, lamb, chicken, cheese, things of that nature. And then what seems to happen, again, probably not for everybody, but for a good number of people who are carnivore, is that that list of food items tends to become more and more narrow. And so now for the past, I don't know, maybe 6 to 9 months or so, it's predominantly beef with a little bit of lamb here and there. And that's about it. So I dropped dairy. I did an experiment a couple years ago with dairy and found out that I'm sensitive to dairy also, unfortunately. So I dropped that. And yeah, I dropped coffee a couple years ago. I dropped alcohol about 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so my progression has been just more and more narrowing of what I'm eating to where it's basically fatty red meat now. And it's not because I'm trying to do that. That's what when I first started out, I told myself I'm going to be intuitive, that I'm going to eat intuitively and listen to what my body's telling me, how my body's asking to be nourished and fueled. And that's what I've tried to do for the most part. And so now I'm at the point where my body is just craving red meat. Whenever I'm hungry, I crave fatty red meat and nothing else. I mean, I haven't touched chicken probably in like 2 or 3 years, even though I used to eat it all the time. I used to love it. I haven't had fish or seafood in a long time, even though I love it. So my body's just craving fatty red meat whenever I'm hungry. And I think from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes sense. I don't think humans a million years ago were eating a really wide variety of different types of foods. I think humans were eating, predominantly big fatty animals. So again, fatty red meat. And so I think that's um, in our physiology. That's how our bodies have evolved to thrive um, from fatty red meat. And so that's, I think, what people tend to generate towards when we're nourishing our bodies very well. Our body will crave the most nutrient-rich food, which happens to be fatty red meat. And so that's simply what I want to eat. Whenever I'm hungry, I want to eat fatty red meat. I don't want to eat anything else. So, but it's interesting how that happens.
Well, I'm pretty much the same. Although I do some liver also, which I actually eat the duck liver. Do you do do you do organ meats or bone broth and things like that?
Yeah. So I used to actually drink a lot of bone broth. I haven't been making as much bone broth lately, just out of, I guess, laziness. What I will do is drink meat broth. So a lot of what I eat are slow cooked meats, so chuck roast, briskets, short ribs, oxtails, things like that. And then the broth that's left over, I'll pour that into glass containers, and that it separates into the tallow, the hard tallow on top, and the broth, gelatinous broth underneath. So I'll drink that. But yeah, I do eat organ meats as well. There's kind of a differing opinions on organ meats that you'll hear on social media. And I think, organ meats are very nutrient rich and nutrient dense, and I think they're a good thing to consume. Do I think they're absolutely necessary for excellent health and functioning? Probably not, because there are a lot of people who are eating just muscle meat and fat and are feeling really good and functioning really well. My body craves mainly liver, though I do eat bone marrow and some other organs from time to time, brain and some other things. But mainly liver. If I don't have liver for like a week and a half, my body starts craving it. And so I'll eat liver with the meat and fat that I'm eating, for a few days until it runs out. And then I'll wait until my body starts asking for it again. But my body's usually craving liver, after a week or a week and a half of not having consumed any. But again, I like liver. I like the taste of it. I enjoy eating it. So, I don't think people necessarily need to like choke it down or force it down, if they don't like it or if they're repulsed by the flavor or whatever.
Now, according to your bio, you've been managing a mental health clinic for a number of years. How did this change help you in that particular environment? And are you still in that environment working that?
Yeah, I still am, and it's been interesting. The first few years, so I went and got certified as a nutritional therapy practitioner a few years ago. So before that, I was interested in nutrition, but I didn't have like a formal education or background in it. Just things that I'd read that were of interest to me on my spare time. So, and what was interesting to me is that I was able to put in remission decades long depression and anxiety and panic attacks where without medication and where therapy didn't help. And this is like a pretty significant thing.
Right.
And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people have therapy resistant and medication resistant anxiety and depression, just debilitating, or not able to function, or just miserable. And so if I was able to get through it and overcome it simply by changing my diet, I'm sure a lot of other people would be able to do the same. So that kind of drove me to become educated and to get the certification in nutritional therapy. And I did that, and we started implementing nutritional therapy in with our mental health clients at our clinic a few years ago. And the results have been phenomenal. Not everybody, not too surprising, not everybody is willing to change their diet and to go on, a restrictive ketogenic or carnivore diet. But there are a good number of people that do agree to do it, whether it's parents doing it, with their kids or for their kids, or teenagers or adults or seniors. I have clients of, pretty much every age in the spectrum. And the ones that do it do very, very well. And it's just amazing the progress they make. And in a pretty short period of time, it's mostly in the span of a month or 2
Yep.
or 3 at max, that someone with debilitating depression and or anxiety, ADHD, kids with behavioral issues who are, the parents are getting called by the principal on a daily basis to come get their kid from school because the kid's misbehaving. And in, a month or 2, on average, these people are much, much better, are able to function normally,
Mhm.
and feel well. And so it's pretty amazing. And even in cases where you would think that the person would need some therapy, like severe cases of PTSD, severe traumatic incidents that people have gone through. So some people, I've worked with some people who with PTSD who have been to therapy, um, where that hasn't helped, which is similar to my experience. And so they're looking for different treatment modalities, or there are people who have been through trauma who don't want to go to therapy, who don't want to talk about and rehash the horrible things that happened to them in the past. And so they're also looking for a different type of modality. So we've worked with people, or people who are resistant to medications, who have tried anxiety medications, antidepressants, and that hasn't worked. And even those people with severe traumas, with severe PTSD, in a month or 2 or so, they're like a new person. And that's what they say also, like, wow, I feel like a new person. You can tell, like you can tell by their demeanor when they're first coming to see you. You can tell that they're severely depressed, that they have severe anxiety. And it's pretty amazing to see. Fast forward a few weeks or a month or so, and it's just a different person. And the trauma is still there. They still had the same horrible experience happen to them in the past, but they're able to function on a day-to-day basis because their brain is functioning better, because their brain is finally being nourished properly and not inflamed.
And the toxins are removed.
Exactly. Yeah.
The poisons, the toxins, and the inflammation, and we're providing the proper nutrition for the cells to function properly. I grew up in Los Angeles, kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read. I had migraines, bowel problems for years, and it wasn't until I was 55 did I go carnivore. But before that, I was keto, paleo, Atkins, and everything. But it wasn't until carnivore did all of my diseases go away and my brain just lighten up and follow a much better direction. So would you say in general those people, the others in the clinic are open to this, or is there any resistance?
So it's tended to fall into an issue of how much the person is suffering. So if a person is suffering enough and they're desperate enough to relieve that suffering, they're more willing to try more extreme measures, like eating real human food. Not
Extreme,
all,
right?
yeah, and not all the garbage that's out in the restaurants and supermarkets today. But that's basically been it: is how much the person is suffering. The ones who, mild depression or mild anxiety, or some ADHD, and some of those folks just aren't willing to give up the addictive processed foods that they're eating, that are driving and causing or exacerbating their condition. But for people who are suffering enough, who are in enough pain, people with severe anxiety, severe depression, panic attacks, um, parents of kids who are having a really hard time in school because of ADHD, um, because of impulse and emotional regulatory and control issues, anger issues, they're more willing to try it. And like I said, the ones who try it have phenomenal results and phenomenal success. So I try is, the main challenge for me is convincing people to give it a try, because the ones that do very well. And obviously I want to be able to help whoever comes in, walks in through the door. And I know that the outcome is going to be much, much better if they clean up their diet than if they don't.
What do you think the biggest resistance is for the change in nutrition on both the clinician side and also the client side?
So it's a few things. It's giving up hyper palatable, addictive foods, foods that we enjoy eating, which is not easy for a lot of people to do. And it's also, you have to allay their fears, because
Mhm.
basically you're giving them advice which goes against everything they've been told and what they're um, in school, by the media, by the medical establishment, and you're going up against their current doctor who's telling them, no, don't eat red meat, don't eat animal fat, don't eat butter. Um, you need to eat lots of fruits and vegetables and grains and beans and legumes. Otherwise, saturated fat's going to give you cardiovascular disease. Your arteries are going to clog up from all the cholesterol. So it's really you have to convince them not only to give up all these hyper palatable addictive foods that they've loved to eat for years and years, but that this diet is not going to damage their health or kill them. Like, on the contrary, this is actually the best and most healthy and health promoting ways of eating for humans. And it's certainly a challenge. The nice thing is, though, that we have going for us is that it's the truth and it's the reality. So we're not trying to convince somebody of something that isn't true or isn't entirely accurate. Like, I 100% believe everything that I tell my clients and believe that that is the reality and the truth. And I've experienced it myself personally and have seen many, many clients experience similar improvements in health and functioning. So, but I would say those are the two main challenges. And I imagine it's probably similar with you in your practice.
Yeah, you share the ideas, but there's a lot of resistance to it because the story is basically meat is bad and vegetables are good, and you have to overcome that. And but getting some people to do it, we have to keep sharing and keep showing that yourself and myself and many others who have experienced the changes are really, really important. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on where exercise comes in along with the carnivore nutritional changes.
Yeah, I
I
think
thought,
exercise is very important for humans. Uh, at promoting and optimizing, obviously, our physical health, but also our mental health. Um, we're meant to be outside, to be active, to be moving all the time or very often. A lot of us aren't moving too much. So certainly exercise is very important and something I encourage clients to do. Some people aren't in a position to start lifting weights or doing CrossFit or things like that. So even I encourage people, even a 20-minute walk around your neighborhood, around the block is a good start. And then maybe a few push-ups at home, things like that. But getting your body moving is important. One interesting thing that I've noticed with a good amount of clients, though, is people who are physically fit, in pretty good shape or decent shape, and who are under the impression that they're eating healthy. They're eating more healthy than a lot of people, but and they're also exercising quite frequently, and actually too frequently. So I have a number of clients who tend to overtrain, and I did it also for years and years. I would work out 5 and 6 days a week, 1.5 to 2 hour workouts each workout. And you have to realize that while exercise and movement are important, strenuous exercise, which is the kind you want to get, is a stressor to the body. And what you're actually doing is damaging the muscle tissue, the muscle fibers, so that when they regrow and redevelop, they regrow stronger. And that's how you develop and gain muscle and strength. And that's a good thing, but you are damaging your muscle tissue. And that healing process is an inflammatory process, as is any other healing process. And again, inflammation up to a certain point is okay if it's from exercising a few times a week. But when it becomes too frequent, where you're exercising and your body's in repair mode, in inflammation mode, 5, 6, 7 days a week, like you're not providing your body with the chance to rest, to recuperate, to recover, to rebuild. And so you're in a constant state of inflammation, cortisol pumping through your body on a daily basis, and that's going to have an impact on both your physical health, your body composition, your mental health, and actually be detrimental for all those things. And but what happens is that people get caught in kind of a cycle or a trap to where, let's say they're working out 4 days a week for an hour at a time, and that's might be a little too excessive and too strenuous for them. So they'll think, okay, well, gosh, well, let me add one more day. So we work out 5 days a week now, and I'm going to work out an hour and a half each time. And they do that, and they find that they're not feeling better, they're not looking better, they're not getting stronger. They might be putting on a little bit of belly fat. So, oh gosh, maybe those 1.5 hours is enough. Let me do 2 hours. Let me work out 6 days a week. And I mean, there are a lot of people I've worked with who are working out 5, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes 2 workouts a day. And I tell them, okay, so hold on. Like, this is called overtraining. And while exercise is important, too much can and is detrimental to our health and our functioning. So, so I get those clients to dial back how frequently and how long they're working out. Like, for example, I'm in pretty good shape, and that's one of the nice things about Carnivore, is that it's enabled me to not effortlessly, because I work out and I work out hard, but pretty, like, compared to how I used to work out, fairly effortlessly optimize my body composition, my strength, and I've always been in pretty decent shape, but I'm in much better shape now than I was when I was 20, and I was like decades ago. And I only work out 3, maybe 4 times a week, not longer than an hour each workout. I don't do any cardio. All the cardiovascular workout that I get is from strenuous weightlifting, where if you're doing it right, that's a really good cardiovascular workout, and you're very winded. So that's a challenge for a lot of people who are overtraining, is getting them to dial down their workouts. And it also works. I mean, these things aren't terribly complex. Like, eat real unprocessed human food, exercise, but not too much. When people make these fairly simple changes, the results are very noticeable, and they happen very quickly. So that's something that's interesting with regards to exercise that I've noticed. It's important, but don't overdo it.
So you don't have to do as much as you think, and by these simple changes, I know I do about a half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe about 4 times a week. I'm mostly doing my weights now. I do a little bit of bike and walking, but I don't know where I'm walking to. So I do mostly my light bike stuff, and I don't do excessive cardio. I've always said that besides plants, excessive exercise is one of the leading causes of damage to us human beings. So that's
for
important.
sure. Yeah. For
Can
sure.
you tell us a little bit about, I know you've developed a company that focuses on soap and skincare. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into that particular area and what you're sharing.
Yeah. So as part of this journey to basically reduce the amount of toxins that I'm putting into my body, I was first focused on, and I think the biggest factor is what we're eating, what we're consuming. So reducing toxic foods, I think, plays the predominant and biggest role in our health and functioning. But then, you also have to look at environmental toxins, and like toxins that you're breathing in or that you're absorbing through your skin, things of that nature. So just as, and most of us recognize and realize that processed foods with 30 different ingredients that we can't pronounce and don't have, have no idea what they are probably not the best idea for putting in our body. So the same thing holds true for things that we're putting on our skin. Our skin is the largest organ in our body. We absorb things into our skin, whether it's through soaps or creams or whatever, or sunscreens, whatever we're putting on our skin gets absorbed into our body. And, I didn't like the idea, and I don't like the idea of putting, again, you look at a bar of soap, or, dishwashing soap or laundry detergent, and 30, 40 ingredients, and that you don't know what any of those things are. And if you took the time to look into it, you'd probably see that a lot of them are not health promoting. So I started a couple years ago using tallow soaps and found that they work really, really well. They
Mhm.
clean skin really well. Um, they they leave your skin feeling good, not dried out. And again, like industrial soaps used to leave my skin feeling dried out and not too well. I used to have to put lotion on and like, chapstick, um, things like that. But now I find that my skin doesn't get dried out anymore, which is great. I don't have to use like hand lotion every day like how I used to do. I don't have to put on chapstick every day like I used to. So I found that I really like using these natural products, like tallow soaps. And so partly because, and there are a few like small farms that I would buy tallow soaps from over the past few years. And then, so I don't like to throw anything away. So when I cook meats and so forth, I have a bunch of tallow left over and fat left over. And I eat a lot of fat and tallow and so forth. But it's just because I eat mostly like fatty slow cooked meats where there's a lot of tallow that's
Mhm.
generated from it. So over time, I have a meat freezer in the garage, and so that was about half full of frozen pieces of tallow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna like get to that. I'm never gonna eat this. Like, what am I gonna do with all this tallow? Like, I don't want to throw it away, but it's I have no room for if I place an order for a lot of meat, like where am I gonna put it? So then I thought, well, maybe I'll try and learn how to make soap and make my own tallow soap, and so that's how I got started with that, and found that I enjoy the process, and it's nice being able to control what you put in it, because the tallow soaps that I used to use had tallow, but they had other stuff in them as well, like goat milk, lard, some other I can't remember exactly, but some other like plant oils and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so I preferred, I'd wanted to, just like animal foods are best for us, for our health, to eat. So I think using skincare products, um, animal based skincare products are going to be optimal rather than those that which contain, uh, you know, olive oil or coconut oil or other types of plant oils. So it was nice being able to make products that are more kind of carnivore,
Mhm.
skincare
Mhm.
products. So, and I continued with that. My wife also asked me like, oh, it'd be great if I'd like to swap, because she was kind of into the thing of using more natural products and less processed and artificial and chemical products. So she had me develop face cream and lotion and face mask and some other stuff, and kind of trial and error. So I decided, oh, let me I have a lot of the stuff, and I made a lot of it. So I thought, well, let me put a website up and see, there might be some other people interested in buying the products. And so yeah, I did that, and so I have a website now. It's spearheadsoaps.com. And yeah, just started selling about a month ago, and going pretty well. I've gotten pretty good feedback so far, which is fun, and which I kind of I hope for, obviously, and but kind of expect, because I really like the products. My wife really likes them, so I figured other people will probably like them also, and so it appears that's been the case.
Do you think that's mostly the carnivores that are interested, or are you finding the non-carnivores that are also finding some value in this product?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think carnivores are definitely, a big segment, but there are also a lot of people who have a lot of skin sensitivities, and are very sensitive to different skincare products, soaps, and so forth. So I've gotten a lot of interest from people with significant sensitivities, and so even for them, like essential oils to give the product a scent, which essential oils are pretty clean. It's just the oil of whatever fruit or plant or flower or whatever. Nothing processed, no artificial chemicals in there. But even essential oils can be inflammatory towards people with very serious skin sensitivities. So I'd say those are probably the two biggest, people who are most interested in the products, or people, yeah, who are carnivore or like keto and want like clean, um, non-chemical products, and then people with sensitivities.
Cool, cool. Are you doing a fitness coaching by chance?
Yeah, yeah. So I I'm doing both mental health coaching, so nutritional therapy for improving mental health functioning, but also just for improving overall physical health and functioning, and body composition as well. I've had a lot of people reach out to me because, like I said, I'm in pretty decent shape. Um, and so and I'm not not so young anymore. I'm 49, and so a lot of people are wondering, well, how does this 49, almost 50-year-old in such good shape, and maybe he's doing something right. So yeah, I work with a lot of people also who are looking to improve their body composition. Also a lot of carnivores who've kind of experienced stalls in the improvement of their health or their functioning or their body composition or strength. So yeah, it's kind of a combination of those types of folks that I've been working with.
Do you have any particular books or any of those people in the carnivore world that you're inspired most by?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think like a lot of people who are first exposed to the carnivore diet. So it was Sean Baker who first I, I think piqued my interest, and I can't remember if it was his interview with Joe Rogan a number of years ago or where it was, but hearing from him, and so here's a doctor who's in very good shape physically and is doing very very well, and is raving about this carnivore diet, and so yeah, I think he was a big influence and inspirational. And then hearing about like Michaela Peterson's
Mhm.
health journey, and where she had a number of autoimmune joint issues, depression for years and years, and was able to to get through those through dietary changes after a lot of medical interventions didn't work. Um, Paul Saladino, I think his work was really good before he reintroduced fruit and honey and maple syrup and so forth. I don't completely agree with that, and I have my opinions on why his short trial of the carnivore diet didn't go so well. Which, again, like I said, I work with a number of people who are carnivores who experience similar issues, and it's a relatively easy fix. And but yeah, I think his book that he wrote was the Carnivore Code, if I'm not mistaken, was really good. So yeah, there's been a number of people who are putting out great content and great ideas, and certainly in the mental health field. I mean, Georgia Ede,
Mhm,
psychiatrist, is one of the big ones. Chris Palmer, also
mhm.
psychiatry, just came out with a book a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember exactly. I think it's the metabolic mind or something like that, to where he's found and done a lot of research that, in his opinion, and I share that opinion as well, like mental health issues are metabolic health issues the same way as any other physical metabolic health issue is. So, I mean, these things are all seem to be related and interconnected. And and it's something that I see at the clinic as well. It's very rare for somebody to come in with depression and or anxiety and or another mental health issue and not to have any physical health issues. Like it's
We're all
most of the
related.
people, yeah, and I'm sure you have a similar experience. Most people with mental health issues have some physical health issues and vice versa.
Do you think it's as simple as plants are not required and plants are mostly all sugar? Plus, the plants contain antigens that cause inflammation and chemicals that cause us to hallucinate and have brain fog, and then fermentation of the fruit, fiber, vegetables in the gut makes alcohol. Could it be so simple?
I mean, I think it is simple. It's just, I think each animal on the planet has a diet that's optimal for that species. And the reason why so many people nowadays are experiencing chronic health issues, most of which are 100% preventable, is because we've gotten so far away from eating our ancestrally optimal diet, and which again for humans is fatty red meat, like meat basically, but the optimal of the animal foods is fatty red meat. And yeah, so we've just gotten so far away from that and are eating things that are not optimal. And some people can get away with eating plants. Some people can get away with eating grains, with eating other things, um, where they don't currently have noticeable symptoms. I don't think it's the case where they would never will develop, because I think it's, I think they are toxic to varying levels, different plant foods. But it takes time, years, decades before for us to start experiencing noticeable symptoms of that toxicity. So yeah, and that's something that I explain, because people will say, well, I have, my friend or my spouse or my whoever eats, junk foods and they're fine. And okay, well, they might look fine. They're probably, they're probably not optimally healthy. And I can guarantee you, it's only a matter of time before they start showing one or more health symptoms and conditions. So these toxic foods do catch up with us eventually. But yeah, are there foods or plants that are more toxic than others? Yeah, of course. Like the grains, the seeds, nuts, things like that are probably the worst offenders. Sugar, obviously, processed ingredients are not really good at all. And probably the least harmful are, like Saladino says, the fruits. But he says the least toxic foods, but the least toxic is still toxic. Like, do you want, I don't want to eat something that's less toxic than other toxins. I don't want to eat toxins, period. So that's my opinion with that.
Yeah, the leading symptom of heart disease is sudden death.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's no leading symptom you had. The same thing with cancer. Suddenly you're diagnosed with cancer, but you had no symptoms of your cancer until you have cancer. So ultimately, they're all symptoms of a plant-based, low animal fat diet. And it really is as simple as that. And honey is a sugar, plus it contains toxins that the bees and the bugs and other microbes live in, basically. And it's go try to capture a beehive and eat the honey. None of us are doing that. There'll probably be a lot more bee sting deaths in this country. And we're not, no one I know dies of an anaphylactic reaction to red meat. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I certainly haven't. No.
Nothing. Yeah. What's on your agenda for 23 and what you're sharing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be pretty much continuing to do what I've been doing. Continuing to work with clients to try and spread the message about optimizing our health, physical, mental, through dietary interventions and reducing environmental toxins, through my skincare products business. So that's pretty much going to be my focus. Something that I enjoy very much. I get great satisfaction out of seeing clients do much better, especially since I can relate to most of them, and I've been in their shoes and I know how much they're suffering. And so it really, it's really an amazing feeling being able to help somebody out in such a significant way to really change someone's life and change the trajectory of their life. By doing something that's pretty, I mean, we shouldn't, lately I've thought that the whole idea of the nutrition field, that there's a field that you can, study, you can get degrees in, you can get, a doctorate in nutrition. It's like, this shouldn't even be an academic field. Nutrition should, it's like, I'm going to go study breathing. I'm going to go get a doctorate in breathing. And like, no, every animal on the planet, just like they know how to breathe properly, they know how to eat and nourish themselves properly. It's only humans that don't. And so it's kind of silly that we need to be educated about something that's so basic and fundamental to our survival and our existence, such as nourishing ourselves, that we have educational programs and doctoral programs and all that. It's actually very, very, very simple. But yeah, so as a side note, I thought that was kind of interesting that.
But the nutritional science and the doctorates, and if you become a member of the American nutritional organizations, you're sharing the approach, which is not carnivore.
Yeah, well, you're sharing an approach which is not optimal and does not promote optimal health and functioning. And yeah, so then you get into a lot of intricacies and debates and so on and so forth. Like, it's in my opinion, it's cut and dry. Like, try something for a month. If it doesn't significantly improve your health and functioning in a month, you're not doing the right thing. And like I said, the proof's in the pudding. And so a lot of people, when they come into the clinic, and I'll talk, they come in, most of them ask for therapy, psychotherapy, or they ask to be put on medications. And so I'll introduce them to the topic of nutrition. And, most of them like, wow, that's like, why are we talking about nutrition at a mental health clinic? And then they'll tell me, well, I'm eating healthy. That's not relevant to me. I'm on a healthy diet. And I tell them, well, no, actually, if you were eating healthy, you would be healthy. Like, you wouldn't have these healthy, you wouldn't be in here talking to me if you were eating healthy. So the fact that you think you're eating healthy, that's good that you're cognizant of trying to nourish your body properly and taking, proactive steps to do so, but you're doing the wrong things. Because if you're doing the right things, you would be feeling and functioning very, very well, and you wouldn't be in here talking to me.
But the problem is the label healthy, which is a marketing term like organic and XYZs, is that it's propagated by the opposite approach by modern medicine, which is basically manipulating the science in a way that teaches us that healthy means fruit, fiber, vegetables, seeds, and nuts, and lean meat, but no red meat. And that's our conundrum, is it not?
Yeah. Oh, it certainly is. And it's very unfortunate that there's so much bad advice out there, and that the bad advice is what's very well known and what's followed very closely by a lot of people who are, it's so unfortunate that they're trying to do the right thing, and their health is getting worse and worse, and they can't understand why. And a lot of the doctors don't understand why. So it's really unfortunate that so many people are trying to improve their health, but they're just not following the right advice. Because and I don't know if it's the case that that a healthy person isn't a good customer in the medical healthcare field. I don't know if that has something to do with it, like financial incentives, but sometimes I think maybe that has something to do with it. Because most doctors are pretty smart people and pretty educated, and it just seems so glaringly obvious to me, who doesn't have a formal medical education and is a lot less knowledgeable about medicine and health than a doctor would be. But it's so glaringly obvious how we should be eating, what we should be doing. Like, how can these super smart and educated doctors not know this?
It's called brainwashing. See, science has taught us that the metabolism and the need for sugars, glucose, as the energy for the cell. And so if you believe glucose is the energy of the cell, you're going to believe that carbohydrates and eating glucose is good for you. And so when we go through pre-med and medical school and then residency, this story is nutrition isn't so important, or if it is, it's Mediterranean diet or vegan or vegetarian diets. And so that's what we hear constantly. But today, at least when I was in medical school and residency, there wasn't social media. And so you really didn't get the chance to hear or see that and get to, Sean Baker and many others out there. And so I've got a few medical students beginning to listen, but if they answer the questions on their test with this information, they won't pass. They won't get their medical degree. So it's such an opposite approach. The brain, it really takes a lot of work, and the work you're doing, the work we're doing, the work we're all doing in the community is really important, that we touch everyone in so many ways. So let's see. It's Asher Adelman at Primal Wellness and Spearhead Soaps to find you, and any other place that people should look and listen and learn what you have to share.
Those are the main places. Instagram, Primal Wellness. I also have a YouTube channel. I put out some informational videos there. Also Primal Wellness. Got a TikTok channel. So yeah, the main social media places, and so yeah, the Primal Wellness, and yeah, on Instagram, Spearhead Soaps,
Well,
and our website, Spearhead Soaps.
I've got to get some of your soaps and give them a do and try them out. And that the beauty is we're all meeting each other through this social medicine, and social media is the new way that people can eliminate their doctors, their drugs, and find health and wellness through carnivore, the proper amount of exercise, and using the right soaps and lotions and things for health and wellness. So Asher, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. It was great talking to you.
All right, we'll share some more and connect. God bless you.
Sounds good. You too.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.